Hey guys, welcome to Qkumba's first live stream. I'm just checking out some of the technicalities, as this is our first one, so I'm trying to figure this all out as we go. If anyone wants to say anything, please do. I'll have a look, make sure our chat is working. Just going to hang for a minute or two to wait for people to come online, if that's cool. Shrouded Lion, good morning from California. Good morning, Shrouded Lion. Jean, is that how I spell it? Florida, how you guys? Okay. Cool. I'm just going to hang for a little bit and then just wait for some more guys to come online, and then we'll get started. Okay, cool. Thanks, Sean. Okay, I just want to check. Levana, are you here with us? Just say hi in the chat box. Norman, how are you? Cape Town, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. All right, I'm going to get started because I don't want to waste you guys' time, and I'm sure people will join us as we progress. So I just want to repeat what I said earlier, is welcome to Qkumba's first live stream. This is going to be a little bit rough and ready because I haven't got proper lighting and I've got my old webcam. But just bear with us as we test this out and test the formalities and the technicalities. But it'll still be fun for us to spend a bit of time and maybe for us to answer your questions. Please let me know, can you guys hear me properly? Just leave a message if you guys can hear me. And while you're doing that, also I am streaming on 3G, so I think the stream might be a bit spotty, but hopefully it doesn't impact upon the experience too much. And also there's a 10-second lag between me talking and what you guys see, so if it looks like I'm slow to reacting to some of your questions, then that will be why. Let's see what's happening here. Short line. Okay, you guys can hear me. Great. Ilvana will hopefully be joining us on chat, so she'll also be answering questions but typing them out, and I will probably be reading them out for benefit of future YouTube viewers, and I'll probably be adding my own stuff into whatever she says. And just so you know that this video and live stream are part of a pre-release for unicorns, which hopefully you guys have now heard on the video, and I'll be talking more about that afterwards. But basically, we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a Christmas present, especially as I've been promising this song for about the last 2-3 months. So I thought, well, hell, we've got the song finally finished, we've got the video finished, let's just release it to our Facebook group or Facebook page, and then in January we'll be doing a proper release, which I'll be telling you guys about. Okay, let me just checking up on questions here. Alright, so the point of today is to be answering your questions. Fully acknowledge that Lavana and myself are like hermits and we don't do much interaction. But we know that you guys would like to know a little bit more about what makes us tick and what our creative process is. So I thought, well, let's go have this live stream, and feel free to ask us any questions. Bearing in mind, I probably won't share anything that affects our privacy too much, but you guys have always been respectful, so I'm sure that's not going to be a problem. Yep. So how on chat and tell me where you guys are from. Okay, so cool. You guys ready for, I've got a question here already. I'm going to answer a question that came up on Facebook first, and that came from Brandon. He says, thank you so much, great video. Did you guys make the night outfit yourself? Such super creative, and looks like a fun time was had by making it. Actually, it was made by Ironical, who is the guy in the night outfit himself. And so I'm just looking at responses here while I'm chatting to you. So no, it wasn't Lavana or myself, although I think Lavana can double check it for me, but Ironical made that suit, and he's 14 years old, and yes, he's very creative. Okay, Jean says, will there be an album? The answer to that, Jean, is probably not, and the reason is to create an album is actually a very energy intensive exercise, and beside both Lavana and myself obviously working on other things, and she so she's answering in Facebook. Lavana, make sure you come through to YouTube. So if we were to wait for an album, it would probably never arrive. But if we can release singles or EPs like we did the last one with Butterflies, then that's basically what we're going to be doing, because then we know we can actually put content out there. But a full album, at this point, I would say no. Okay, hope that answers your question, John. All right, other questions? So there's a question. Let me see. There's questions coming on Facebook. All right. So Russell also asked, will there be a new album? And Lavana says, well, like my answer is, not at this point. Boys, I love your lyrics. Lavana says, I originally had unicorns can fly in the lyrics, but was only told by certain young people that no, we can't use unicorns can fly because that's an alicorn, and that comes from a part of culture I know absolutely nothing about. I think it's a TV show where they use the word alicorn. So yes, we had to be, Lavana had to be very careful in her lyric writing, because she has some stern lyricists in the background, making sure we don't mess up our lyrics and how we refer to things. Okay, next question. Yes, and then so she says we were called to task on the one lyric. Love is not the only thing that keeps us alive. Love is the only thing that keeps us alive, and we were told no, that's not true, because there's also food and air that keeps us alive. So we had to explain about poetic license and the fact that on some level that statement is actually true. Okay. Alright, so Jean says, I saw you guys live in New York and then in Johannesburg with Erasure, I think it was, correct. So Jean, yep, we did a couple of gigs with Erasure when they were doing their South African tour. and I'll actually tell you a little bit more about that after I answer your question. It was a breathtaking experience. Thank you. Any chance of a tour? In terms of tour, I'm not going to say absolutely no, because who knows what might happen. But it's not on the cards. Touring takes a hell of a lot of energy, or time and energy, to put together. And you obviously need to have a market out there, which we don't have yet anyway. And there's costs and expenses in the whole exercise. So, and besides the fact that we are, Qkumba Zoo is, it's not a, I wouldn't call it a side project, but it's one project amongst a few others that we are involved in. So the circumstances have to be perfect before we go on tour. So I'm not saying no, but I'm also not saying yes. Okay. All right. Listen, Russell and Lavana, you guys are talking lacquer on Facebook, but please come across. Let me just send them a message. Any other questions, guys? Will it be okay. Nothing yet. Look, if we don't need the full hour then we won't take the full hour. But I'm just going to wait a few minutes to see if there's any questions. Shrouded Line says, not a question, but to say that your music has always had a special place in my heart. Thank you. The uplifting lyrics and happy tunes always makes me smile. Well, I hope you're smiling a little bit more today then. And I hope our new song makes you smile as well. So guys, you have any, I hope most of you have watched the video. Do you have any questions on the new song Unicorns? I'm just going to share the link quickly with some guys who are trying to find it from Facebook. Okay. Okay, Norman, you still need to watch it. That's fine. I'm sure you will, and hopefully you enjoy it. So while we're waiting for maybe more questions and more people to join, we have been asked a question about why are we releasing now after so much time. And so why is Qkumba, you know, our last release was early in the century, and which sounds terrible actually. Early 21st century. And to answer a question, when Qkumba Zoo first started, we obviously had there was a whole trajectory where we were signed to South African label. Then the South African label got us onto Arista, and then Arista released us internationally, and then we had some success, for instance, in the Philippines, and on a more underground level in the States. But our second album, we didn't have the same kind of support production-wise as we didn't have on the first album. So I think personally the songs on our second album were actually even better. And I always felt like we had 4 or 5 great albums in what we were doing. So I was very disappointed when we couldn't take it further than the first album. And I think music was always been in my blood. So although I was doing other things to survive, you know, working in the corporate space, I never, music never left me. So I've been working with other bands and also managed to persuade Lavana to carry on, at least creating on a, let's call it ad hoc basis. So like to answer Jean's earlier question, we're not planning on albums, but we hopefully will be releasing 1 or 2 songs a year that will help, they allow us to create, get more of our music out there in the world, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. Okay, Lavana is with us if you guys want to ask her any particular questions. Just going to wait a few minutes. Yeah, like Lavana says, don't all leap in. Obviously, we are extremely eloquent and have answered all your questions already in the songs. So therefore, you have no questions. Is that correct? Let me talk about Erasure. So Jean asked about, they saw us play open for Erasure when they were in Johannesburg and Cape Town. That was really quite a special experience because we got to know Andy and what's his name? Phew, forgotten his name. It'll come to me. But Andy, the lead singer, and he, they were, I mean, they were like these big stars, and we were these little appies from South Africa. But we got to know their team, and we got to know them not very well, but we were like friendly with them. And I remember once, Vince, thank you, Charlotte Line. Not gonna get anything past you guys. Okay, and I remember like we had the song Cloud Eyes, which I'm sure most of you guys know. And I remember Andy standing backstage off the side of the stage and listening to us play that song, and he was actually a couple of tears in his eyes. And then I knew, okay, cool. You know, we have some good songs, and there's some, and for him to appreciate our songwriting and our music like that was really actually quite awesome. Okay, what Charlotte Line? So from Charlotte Line, what equipment do you use to synthesize? That's obviously changed over time. Our first album, we actually, or I, did all the music on an old Ensoniq ASR10, which is a keyboard sampler. And by 90% of the sounds came from that keyboard, and I used to spend hours. I mean, to program that thing was insane, just because how, by today's standards, how hard, or how, not hard, but labor intensive it was. And then we also used a Roland Juno 106 for some of the synth lines, and then played some guitar, and then Lavana singing. So that was our first album, and we put all those sounds down to tape, and I think that's partly why we got such a great sound for that first album. Since then, gone through various things, but for Unicorns now, I program mostly using Ableton Live. And I have a couple of favorite synths on there. So the Rob Payton synths are what I use. Native Massive, I use that. And then I use samples and that kind of thing. And so nothing particularly boutique at this point. A lot of the stuff you can get online. But I do have my favorites. The Rob Payton I like a lot, and the Massive I like. So that lead part in Unicorns was used. It was a combo of about 3 synths. So one was Massive, and the other one is a Rob Payton. If you want me, if you're interested, I can maybe put out a blog onto our webpage where I spell it out more. Okay, so we're getting some questions. Vince, yeah. JWG photo says Cloud Eyes makes my eyes cloudy. Thank you, man. And Bell, Charlotte and Andy Bell is very motivated and has had quite a path in life. Yeah, or I mean, I wish I'd actually spent more time with him because he seemed like a very, you always have this idea of pop stars, they're out in their own, on their own planet. But would have loved to got to know those guys better. They were just rushing through, so we actually asked them for dinner the one night, and they said yes, except they couldn't. So that kind of sucked. Jean Noel says, I want to say thank you to both for great music. Into the Night still touches my heart every time I listen. It's funny, thank you, Jean, because Into the Night is actually one of the band's favorites as well. That song started it's sort of like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would get into putting the headphones on and just start making music. And in fact started because a girl broke up with me and I was very upset about it. But so that the sort of sound and everything came from like a 3 or 4 o'clock morning stint. And then the lyrics that I sing, obviously I wrote. And then Lavana came in, and together with our producer, we rewrote some of the music for the chorus, and then Lavana wrote those amazing lyrics. And I have to say, and like Lavana says, Into the Night is one of my favorites, John, so she agrees with me on that one. That was one of those that started out early morning inspiration, and through a process of creativity and other people get involved, became one of our favorite songs. I play your albums and EP often, says Jean. Thank you, man. Vanessa says maybe it's Jean's favorite because I wrote most of it, which is partly true. I think the bed of the song came from me, and the verse lyrics. But without that chorus, I don't think that song would be what it is. So I wrote the bulk of the lyrics, but the lyrics that Lavana wrote and she sang, I think, is definitely 50-50. Charlotte Line says, Vince has released a lot of his sounds too. I'm guessing you mean his samples. Is that what you mean? I'll look into that. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so John says, Lavana, what inspires you to write these days? And I mean, do you draw from something? I'll same question. So Lavana is probably busy typing away, but I'll get started. So about these days, in some ways, it hasn't really changed that much, in the sense that we draw from our own lives and from our own emotional experience, and in a way, our desire to take the world and transcend it for ourselves into something, because I mean, it's like you look at what's around you, and you can, depending on what your perspective is, you can either have the glass half full, or the glass half empty, or the glass half full, or the glass quarter full, or 3/4 empty, so a lot of my writing came from gestalt moments. So Into the Night, a perfect example. Neither of us are very good at kind of writing to spec. We got to write like a title given by someone else. In fact, we're pretty awful at that, and we've tried and it hasn't worked that great. But that gestalt moment, and moments of like where my mind's not in the picture but in emotion, and how that translates into a song, definitely drives a lot of the seeds of our songs. And then obviously once that happens, then the sort of discipline of putting it into a final product happens. So there's a lot of both. There's a lot of like going right into the seed moment and coming out with that core emotional thing we want to say, and then once we get a couple of lines of the lyrics or the verse, and then maybe we'll put a chorus on, or maybe the chorus comes first, because there's, like any form of creativity or art has inspiration and sweat in equal measures. So in terms of like what that is, I mean, Levana has her full life and things she deals with. I have mine. I'm very, I would say, quite socially aware. Very sensitive soul. Fortunately, unfortunately, fortunate for the creative process, but not so much in terms of living life. And I think I could probably carry on like this for hours, but I'll leave it there. But I don't know if that helps you to understand a little bit about our, like what we draw upon. Okay. Just going back a bit. Big is my favorite song and the musical interlude on Mothership. Yep. I have like 4 or 5 favorite Qkumba Zoo songs, and that's Charlotte Line, that's also one of mine, and especially the slow version. The Mothership version. Okay. Levina asks won't load, is there a character limit? Why try installments? I think she's trying to write answers that are not loading. Okay. Alright, so in answer to Jean's question, Levina says, what does she draw upon currently? And she says, children and the unfortunate way they are treated in our world, and what that means and how we can heal and regain their aliveness and newness and love by reconnecting with the children we still are. And I think that's if you look at our first song, the first big song, Child Inside, I think that's a perfect example of what Levina is talking about. So the child inside, because we have so repressed and so squashed our own inner child, therefore we go and act that out in the world, and a lot of our, what's happening out there can be traced back to the abuse we receive as children. And the only way I think that we can overcome a lot of what's facing us and a lot of the sort of patriarchal control and abuse that we see happening is if we not only connect to our inner child, but also the power that's in there. And I don't want to put words in Levana's in what she's saying, but I think we're sort of talking around about a similar topic there. Levana, feel free to punch in there if you need to. The Wake Up and Shrouded line, the Wake Up and Dream album art is top notch. How did it happen? That's one of the few things that we had very little to do with. As in, we were obviously, the guy who did the Child Inside video, goodness, slipped my mind. Reuven Afanador, we did that video, and in that same week that we were in LA, we did a photo shoot on the LA beaches, and I'm not sure which beach it was. So he took that video, and then the Arista art department put that together into a great video cover. I've always loved it. I think Levana might have her own theory on that, but I love the feel, and I think what I liked about it was it had a bit of the light and the shade. It wasn't just a pure poppy album cover, and it had a bit of mystery to it. So how it came about, you can thank whoever's Arista's design department was at the time. Okay, so Russell Harvey, I love the pure poetry in your lyrics, and have either you written anything else other than Qkumba Zoo songs? The answer is yes. Let me see if Levana's answered that. Levana says, thanks Russell, I have a bottom drawer full of poetry. She does. And she also does write script writing and that kind of thing, which she can tell more about if she wants to. But I also obviously write songs for myself that have, some of them are, I think, are really good, but I haven't really pursued them. So the answer is yes. I love, my favorite artist of all time actually is Leonard Cohen. You would not suspect in terms of the style of music, but I've always loved lyrics, and like great lyrics and insightful lyrics that have layers and that go into the depth of an emotion or the multitudinal experience of any particular experience, multitudinal layers of any particular experience or emotion. And I think part of, just going back in time, part of why Lavanna and I work so well, besides the fact that she can sing better than me, which it took me a while to appreciate, but when I did, then I really did appreciate her singing. But the fact that I really, really admire her lyric writing. A lot of my lyrics come from so I'm just, guys, just give me a sec. There's some people querying on Facebook. Laura says, I'm listening but don't know how to join in. Laura, just there's a chat box somewhere you can just join in. I hope you find it. So coming back to the question of lyrics and Lavanna and why I love working with her is because I will come, so like for instance Into the Night, I'll come with an idea and a set of sort of half-formed lyrics, and then Lavanna takes it and like finishes in five seconds flat, and I'm going like, how on earth did you do that? So her talent is singing and just being an amazing lyricist, and I love that. I could not work in a band where the lyrics weren't speaking, well, weren't hopefully as awesome as hopefully the music is. So to answer your long-winded answer to your question, Russell. Okay. Norman van Beek, anything in Afrikaans? Probably not. We just, well, we're not Afrikaans. I sure enjoy Afrikaans as a language and some of the poetry that you get in it, but I can't write in Afrikaans. Sorry if that disappoints you, Norman, but very unlikely. Lavanna says, nog nie, ek het nie die vocabulary nie, jammer. So to translate, not yet. We don't have the vocabulary, sorry. So not yet. Jean says, wish you both the best and really hope that a tour will happen and think the fans will turn out in droves. Thank you. Definitely keep that in the back of our minds. Lavanna says, sorry Jean, not likely at the moment. Lavanna's become too hermity. Correct? Maybe a live stream from the bottom of a forest gorge. That could work. And Lavanna answers to Norman, I love Johann Mayberg, who I think is a poet. Alright guys, Lavanna says, answer the earlier question about what drives her. So there's growing evidence that oppression of children is the original source of all other prejudices and oppressions. Ageism, sexism, racism, ableism. And that's another topic, huge topic, but it's not one that I would disagree with at this point. Or one that I would agree with. Let me rephrase that. It is a view that I would agree with, that oppression of children leads to a number of original sins that we see in the world. Okay guys. So question from Russell. Lavanna, have you written anything other than Qkumba lyrics? I love the pure poetry of your song lyrics. Have you always wondered if you have written anything else? As she said, a cupboard full, a bottom drawer full of poetry. Just one thing, Laura says, love the sweet truth of your music and the video captures this. Well done. Thank you, Laura. Look, I don't want to, if you guys, I'm going to give a few moments for any more questions. We don't have to take the full hour. I think this has been a very cool first experience. Do you guys like this, by the way? If you enjoyed, just let me know if this is something you would like to happen again. And not promising anything regular, but it's something that I've certainly enjoyed. So if you want to do it again, let us know. Charlotte says the photos were taken on Venice Beach. I have to believe you. I think you might well be right there. So the photos on our first album cover were taken in Venice Beach. This was unique and intimate from Charlotte. Thank you. Right, let's give it 5 more minutes and then I think we'll call it. Knowing that this works great, I'll talk to Lavana, but highly likely we'll do this again. Russell says, this is a beautiful treat and another Qkumba Zoo song that must be played loudly. Thank you for both creating this. You're welcome. If I can maybe just give a bit of history of the song. So Russell's talking about unicorns. Lavana and I wrote another song in the early part of the 21st century that I always loved the music. Lavana wasn't crazy about the lyrics or the content, but I said to her, like, okay, after we finished Butterflies, Out of Time, the last song we released, you know, I really like the song, can we please redo it? And she goes, I don't know, I don't like that song. So then I pushed a bit, and then she said, okay, I'm going to rewrite. I said, that's fine, go and rewrite. And then she drew inspiration from something that really touched her, and then she was able to write the song. So happy, Russell, that you really like it, and hold thumbs there, because I'm going to be pushing her some more for other songs that I think are really good and that she might have to rewrite. But I'm glad it inspires you, and please do play it loudly and play it for all your friends. Charlotte Line. Lavana says, understatement. Ooh, I really hated that other song, the one that we originally wrote. Nothing wrong with being a hermit. Like, I'm the same way now. In my youth, I was way out there. Yep, that's about describes us. So I'm going to just close off now. Maybe any last questions while I just talk about the release of the next song. I mean, the release of Unicorns. Get my notes up. Guys, if you enjoy this and you are a fan, please do subscribe to our channel. We're not hugely active YouTube on YouTube at all, so we're not going to be releasing a lot of stuff or be taking a lot of time here, but when we do, we'd love to obviously share with you. Hit the like if you like this, and the bell button so you are aware when you are informed when we release new stuff. Either this live stream will go live automatically after this, or I will put up myself, and if you have any questions, then pop them onto that and we will probably answer them in a future live stream. We would appreciate when Unicorns comes out formally, which will be early Jan, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing the video to your friends and to anyone that you know might enjoy it. Because we're releasing independently, every little bit helps, so we'd really appreciate if you guys can help share the video and share the Qkumba Zoo message. A bit of shameless plug for myself. I have opened a recording production studio called Titan Productions. So if you know anyone who wants to record or produce music, obviously mostly in Johannesburg or even worldwide, we can do that, then please let them know. And they can get hold of me on the webpage, which is Titan Productions, and that's TYTON productions.co.za. Let me see if any questions have come in. Thank you. Loana says, cool guys, it's been good hanging around. I agree. This has been actually awesome. Russell says, it's wonderful. Let's do again. Absolutely. Thank you, Russell. Charlotte Line, thank you for having this, and I look forward to seeing more music soon. Thank you. So do I. Maybe in your thoughts, you can send some vibes to Lavana. Tell her to spare a bit of time for the Qkumba Zoo process. And that's it, I think. So guys, please subscribe, hit the bell button. It's been really awesome, and thank you for hanging out with us. And we'll do it again. Maybe, I won't say how often we'll do it, but we'll definitely do it again. And thank you. Oh, by the way, have a great holiday season. Travel safe if you are, and wherever you are in the world, please enjoy this festive season, and hopefully you get to spend that with friends and family. And happy holidays and Christmas if you do celebrate that, from Qkumba Zoo. Cheers guys, have a good one.